Underconsumption core, a trend based around the general idea of buying less and making more use of what you already have, has been dominating TikTok feeds and wider conversations. But is it really a useful trend that signifies that we're finally shifting away from hyperconsumerism as a society? Or just another attempt by the well-off to aestheticize poverty and avoid dealing with the real issues? Let's take a deeper look at this trend to unpack what's really going on, and analyze whether it's a solution or just creating another problem. Consumerism is, of course, nothing new. The idea that you can buy your way into your ideal life if you just work hard enough and consume the right things is the main tentpole of the American dream. But in recent years, with the rise of social media, the sheer volume of products available to buy, in tandem with ever-lowering prices, has led to a frenzy of overconsumption.
I grew up in the era of YouTube, of the clothing haul, the makeup haul, so seeing people come home with 5, 10, 15, 20 pieces at a time started to become normal for me.
Having to come to terms with the reality of spending beyond one's means, and buying things not out of need but just to fill a void in your life, created by other things that you'd rather ignore in favor of focusing on the fun new little thing you bought, has long been a part of growing up and becoming a quote-unquote real adult.
Welcome to the real world! It sucks! You're gonna love it.
And as people have become more aware of just how negative of an impact these modern social media-induced shopping addictions can have on their lives and wallets, especially as the economy has continually flirted with falling into another recession, not to mention the destructive consequences for the environment, there has been a rising sentiment against this kind of lifestyle. Underconsumption is the newest trend in a long line attempting to find a way to make consuming less still feel as social media worthy as doing a big haul. It's caused people to really pause and take a look at just how much stuff they own, that they've bought because they saw someone online using it, or were served a targeted ad, only to never use it again, leaving it to languish in a pile of all of the other things they've bought suffering the same fate. While getting people to rethink their excessive consumption is a positive, the trend hasn't come without its own set of issues. On occasion, the underconsumption trend has swung into hierarchical territory, where it seems that some people are more concerned with pocket watching and finding reasons to snark about how they're so much better than everyone else because they consume even less than they are with actual sustainability or accessibility concerns. And there are some who, paradoxically, have begun using the trend as a reason to consume more with less guilt.
You're gonna try and buy your way to underconsumption. I already see it happening. We'll declutter every single water bottle except for one, and then a new water bottle will hit the scene. Because once I buy this water bottle, I'll never feel the need to buy another one again. That's what you said about the last water bottle.
The biggest pushback on the trend, though, has mostly just been people pointing out that it's not really under-consuming. It's just normal spending for the vast majority of people. While influencers might try to make it feel like everyone is doing $1,000 Shein hauls every month, the reality is that most people don't live that way. Even people who do feel like they're spending beyond their means. And that's because most of us just literally don't have that option. Having to reuse things until they break down, finding ways to recycle things within our own lives, bargain hunting and community swapping, these are just very normal ways of life for most people, and the only way we're even able to get by.
Welcome to the No Options Club. It's a cool club.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm in it.
Oh.
Most of America's in it. We meet on Tuesdays.
To see these kinds of things that were once shamed as broke behavior now become a glossy new aesthetic trend can certainly feel odd, to say the least, even if as a whole it does seem nice to see people beginning to turn away from excessive overconsumption just a little bit. And to some degree, this weirdness comes from the fact that for some people it seems like underconsumption core is just the newest iteration of a very old habit, rich people cosplaying as poor. It can be so hard to feel like you have control over things in your life, from your relationships to your career and everything else. But one thing that you can finally get some more control over is making doctor's appointments with the help of ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. They make it super easy. You can search by location, availability, and insurance. so you won't feel forced to make any compromises. You can read through reviews from real patients to get a feel for each doctor, and then when you find one you like, you can book them instantly. No need to call and listen to bad hold music while hoping they'll have an availability. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Using ZocDoc has made finding and booking a doctor so much easier for me, so stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/thetake to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/thetake. ZocDoc.com/thetake. There's a long history of wealthy people realizing that they're essentially totally detached from normal human life, and so in an effort to feel more of the people, essentially cosplay as a regular person so that they can feel normal. One of the most famous instances of this is probably Marie Antoinette building an entire little village in the gardens at Versailles, so that she could pretend to be a normal peasant living a quaint pastoral life, while never actually having to interact with the reality of what life was like for those peasants outside of the palace walls.
Welcome to my little village.
I love it here. It's my heaven. Oh, I must do this more often. I love the country.
But this trend certainly didn't begin or end with Marie. We discussed the long-standing history of the trope in our video on the old money and hobocore trends. More modern attempts at feigning normality have continued to dip into this kind of cosplay, most notably with all of the billionaire tech bros dressing down in hoodies and sneakers so that they look more relatable as they ruin people's lives.
Sorry, my Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie and my you flip-flops, you pretentious douchebag.
These kinds of attempts by the ultra-wealthy to make themselves appear more regular aesthetically are so grating because we all know that while they may enjoy pretending to be like the rest of us, they'd absolutely never give up their cushy lifestyles or even attempt to make the world a better place for all of us. They'll just continue to extol the virtues of simple living and minimalism from their mega mansions, while looking down at the rest of us for not pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps.
You're rich, so you're a philanthropist, so you can cure your conscience for not paying enough in tax, not contributing enough to society.
Even though underconsumption seems like a net positive, it's not surprising that some people who use these kinds of tips and tricks to survive are a little wary, because so often these kinds of things blowing up on a major scale means that they'll be taken over and commercialized in some way. Commercializing underconsumption sounds like an oxymoron, but taking basic ways of living and tools of survival away so that you can jack up the price of them to sell them back to the people that need them is a function at the very heart of capitalism.
Do you know that 90% of your water is 100% toxins? Who knows what the other 10% is?
It's probably far worse.
It's really worse. I have a water filter for you.
Also, the fact that it's being framed as a trend means it's likely that many of its newest proponents will drop it as soon as the pendulum of interest swings back towards overconsumption, going right back to excessive spending, and making fun of everyone who doesn't or can't. While this one factor of underconsumption core is a bummer, it is overall hopefully a sign of a positive, more permanent shift in the way we're thinking about our lives and our relationship with consumption as a society. Sustainability has continually grown over the last several decades from a fringe interest to a much more popular concern. As the effects of climate change and economic failure have continued to impact our lives individually and as a collective, more and more people have begun to take to heart the ways that they can start making a change, even if it's just starting small. People have begun turning away from the corporate-favored greenwashing.
Whether they're targeting our everyday stressors or larger existential fears like those associated with the climate crisis, corporate goals remain the same: to capitalize on our anxieties.
And instead have begun to focus on ways that they can make changes, big and small. In addition to collective action to push our governments to do more, people have been taking stock of their own individual choices as well, and making changes where they can.
So when you see a cute top at Target or Fashion Nova, and you see that it's $20, you gotta really think about it, because a person made that top and they did not get compensated fairly for it at all.
One of the best realizations that's come out of this larger push towards sustainability is more people realizing that it doesn't have to mean giving up all fun or living a very boring life. You don't have to become a sad beige baby to live more sustainably, though you can if you want to. Craft work, especially fiber crafts, has boomed as many have come to realize how fun and joyful it can be to make your own clothing. In addition to giving them a better understanding of what really goes into making a garment, it also lets them create their own very personalized style with pieces that will will last.
I don't think that if everybody starts sewing their own clothes, we're magically going to be able to clock off from climate change and be like, don't worry lads, solved. What I do think it will do, even if you learn and you don't continue to do it regularly, is to make you a more conscious consumer.
And the underconsumption trend has helped a lot of people realize that they don't have to give up everything they like. Maybe they just don't need 40 versions of it. At the end of the day, underconsumption could leading to more people really stopping to think about their spending habits and reassess the real reasons behind their drive to spend, especially young people who grew up flooded by the consumerist ideals on social media, is a good thing. Hopefully it isn't just a passing trend, but something people are able to work into their lives in a real long-term way. That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.